Happy Monday, everybody, and welcome back to the UVU Coaches Show presented by the UVU Alumni Association here on ESPN 960. Brandon Crow with you here as always. Thank you for letting us be a part of your day. However, wherever you're joining us, it's a fun weekend for WAC college hoops, WAC hoops in general, and specifically Utah Valley hoops. Utah Valley successful over the weekend, 2-0 in their conference openers against California Baptist. Some fireworks, even though New Year's was a week or so prior. Some heated moments over the weekend. And you know what? I am totally fine with it. There was no punches thrown or anything. There was a little scuffle in Game 1. We'll dive into that a little bit later. But it's fun to see this Utah Valley team have an edge. They have a little personality and really a camaraderie for each other and for their teammates. And some people out there might disagree, but you know what? It's I think it brought a smile to my face a little bit. Again, no punches thrown, but we'll dive into that a little bit later. But it's good to see Utah Valley with an edge, 2-0 over the Lancers of California Baptist. Again, this is one of those new things that we're seeing in the Western Athletic Conference this year with COVID. Due to the protocols, these teams are traveling to certain places. Teams will play half the season at home, the other half will be on the road. But in this case, California Baptist flew up to Utah. They flew up to Orem, and they had a game where California Baptist was, the visiting team technically on Friday, and then the home team on Saturday. Even though both games are played at the UCCU Center in Orem, Utah. And then this week, the Wolverines will travel up to the Pacific Northwest, and they will take on Seattle U, and they'll do the same thing. They'll play one game in Seattle on Friday, then turn around right back and play another one on Saturday before coming back to Orem, Utah after that. So it's kind of a fun little way to play a game and get these games played, I guess, to say. It really had a tournament-like atmosphere, not just because these two teams were very good, very evenly matched, honestly, but there's just something special about playing those games back-to-back like that instead of having to wait 2-3 days or traveling here and there in between games. It was fun. The players were able to come out, they were able to give it their all, go back, rest up, wake up, have shoot-around, some other coaching, and then go right back out on the floor. It was fun. In the first game on Friday night, Utah Valley exploded 77-50 was the final score. And really, I don't think a lot of us, I know me included, I was on the broadcast with Ben Aird on ESPN Plus on Friday. We weren't seeing that coming at all. And I know that there were other people out there that weren't seeing that coming either. And so Fardaz Amak again was on a tear, and he was setting his own pace to probably break his record of the 20 rebounds in a single game, which he broke earlier this year and then retied again himself just a couple games after that. But he finished off, his stat line was 12 points with 14 rebounds, and he had a double-double 6.5 minutes into the game. And so it was crazy to see his dominance in the paint, in the post, in the first game on Friday night, and really to see how California Baptist didn't have an answer for him at all. There's a big, size as far as girth goes, advantage in the post when it comes to Fardaz Amak and Gorjak Gak. Gorjak Gak has athleticism like nobody has seen. That guy can jump out of the gym, he can reach, he can do anything, but he just wasn't as girthy as Fardaz Amak was. And Fardaz Amak, again, working on his footwork and his touch, was able to make some fantastic shots. Overall stat leaders, Jamison Overton, who was back and healthy, was a welcome addition for Coach Mark Madsen and his squad. And we'll hear from him a little bit later, along with head coach Mark Madsen, with some post-game sound bites down the road in the show. But on Friday night, Jamison Overton had 18 points, 8 of 14 from the floor, 2 of 4 at the free throw line. He also had 8 rebounds and 3 assists as well. Other notables, Trey Woodbury was in double figures, which was great to see after his struggling outing at Weber State. Weber State was not a good showing for Utah Valley. Trey Woodbury made his first basket with less than a minute to go, and that was a three-pointer. So that's not something that Utah Valley fans should hold in high regard, or should look at to try and really distinguish what this team or who this team is that Weber State game. So good to see Trey Woodbury, bounce back with 11 points, shooting 3 of 10 from the floor, 4 of 4 from the free throw line, and he's doing what Coach Madsen says. Whatever they ask him to do, he does. He contributed with 3 assists, had some solid defense as well. And then Evan Cole on Friday night had 8 points, 3 of 6 from the floor, 2 of 4 at the charity stripe. He also had 8 rebounds to contribute as well. Blaze Neild, 9 points, and Latrey Darthard with 6. Asa McCord stepping up with 5. Tim Fuller stepping up with 6, and then Trey Farr with 2 as well. So, again, Jamison Overton scored 18 points. Fardaws Amac recorded a 12-point, 14-rebound double-double. And the final score on Friday, 77-50, their win, the Wolverines over the Lancers of California Baptist, to open up Western Athletic Conference play. Utah Valley, they fell down early. And honestly, within the first few minutes of the game, didn't look too good for the Wolverines. We thought that the Lancers, who swept last year's games, looked like they had a chip on their shoulder and that they were trying to do the same thing this year. But after falling behind 7-2 to open up the game, Utah Valley used a 24-6 run over the next 9 minutes to take a 26-13 lead with about 8:38 remaining in the half. And then the Wolverines extended their lead to as many as 19 points, 37-18 with about 5:45 to go. And then the Lancers then scored 8 unanswered points to cut the Utah Valley lead to just 11, 37-26. And that came with just about a little over 3 minutes left in the first half. Then Utah Valley responded right back with an 8-1 run to close out the first half to take a 45-27 lead into the break. And it was at that point where I looked over to my color commentary partner, Ben Aird, and I was like, okay, what the heck are we going to be in for here in the second half? And I know Ben Aird, who, legendary center and player here at Utah Valley, he looked at me and had a smile, and he goes, man, Fardaws is going to be breaking all my records. I think he's probably going to flirt with 30 rebounds tonight. So that's what our thought was at halftime. The California Baptist came out in the second half, scored 7 straight unanswered points to open up the second half, and they trimmed the Utah Valley lead to just 45-34. The Wolverines responded right back with another 21-4 run over the next 10 minutes to take its largest lead of the game, 28 points, 66-38, and the lead really was enough to cushion the Wolverines to take the 77-50 advantage overall. But about 5 minutes into the second half, there was an altercation between Tayshawn Sawyer. Tayshawn Sawyer and Jamison Overton got tangled up. Jamison Overton got a steal, and he was on a fast break, and Tayshawn Sawyer was coming in from behind to try and stop him. And when the foul happened, Tayshawn Sawyer's arm got tangled up with Jamison Overton's, and Jamison Overton is a little bit smaller, so to say, as far as girth goes, than Tayshawn Sawyer. And Tayshawn Sawyer, instead of just letting Jamison Overton's arm go, they are both still locked, and Tayshawn Sawyer just kind of lowered his shoulder and used a little bit of his body weight to fling Jamison Overton to the ground. And Fardaws Amac did not appreciate that at all. So Fardaws Amac there to stand up for his teammate, and he came in with almost like a hockey check into the boards with his shoulder. So he came in and checked Tayshawn Sawyer out, and then Elijah Thomas came flying in out of nowhere and shoved Fardaws Amac, and then Trey Woodbury came to shove, and then next thing you know, Coach Mark Madsen sprints across the court, starts grabbing all of his players and holding everybody back, and then it literally was a 20-minute delay, and it was intense because there were no commercials, no timeouts or anything. The officials all huddled over the monitor. They watched it for 20 minutes, and they had a pen and a paper, and they're writing down what they thought. And they came over and they spoke to Coach Madsen and Coach, the associate head coach, Hardy Esprilla, as Rick Croy didn't make the trip due to health precautions. But they said, hey, look, we looked at the tape. This is what we saw. There's no discussion. And so we had athletic trainers for Utah Valley. Assistant coaches Jackson, Okeson, and Johnson were ejected, along with Fardaws Amac. And then on the other side, Elijah Thomas for the Lancers were ejected. So after that, that's when Utah Valley really came out and they were energized, and that's when they went on that huge 25-10 run over the last 10 minutes of the game or so. So it was crazy. After Friday night, a lot of people thought that if you're getting ejected, like you would in college football, that there would be some sort of a suspension, either at least for the first half or for the whole game the next day. But we woke up Saturday morning and heard the news from the commissioner, Jeff Hurd, that there were no suspensions that were going to be placed. And both sides were very grateful for that. And so then we strap up, get it back going on Saturday night. And Saturday night was a lot more balanced for both teams. Saturday night was great. It was a great contest. And again, both games felt like tournament games. Saturday night was the better game, in my opinion, by both teams. A little bit sloppy at times, sure, but the final score on Saturday, 81-77, the Wolverines on top of the Lancers from California Baptist. Now, the headline on Saturday night was that Fardaws Aimaq recorded a 23-point, 16-rebound double-double, and Evan Cole added a 14-point, 11-rebound double-double to lead Utah Valley to an 81-77 win over California Baptist on Saturday night. So, the last time Utah Valley had two players record a double-double in the same game was on January 7th, so almost exactly 4 years prior, on 2017, when Brandon Randolph had 18 points and 10 rebounds, and Isaac Nielsen had 14 points and 16 rebounds. So that was fun to see. And the craziest part about that is that Evan Cole had no points at halftime. It was tied up 30-30 at halftime on Saturday, and Evan Cole didn't have a single point. And starting out in the second half, California Baptist came right out of the gate, and they scored 7 straight points unanswered. Utah Valley had 4 turnovers in the first minute and a half of the second half. And then all of a sudden, Evan Cole steps into 2 3-pointers from the same spot and drains them both. And really, that was kind of like the straw that broke California Baptist's back, because they were never fully able to recover from that. They were trying to do everything that they could to stop Fardaws Aimaq, and then Evan Cole was just showcasing his athleticism and his pure raw talent, hitting those 2 3-pointers. And then there was a time where he was leading a fast break and was dribbling behind the back in traffic, then kicking out to find Latrey Darthard in the corner for a 3. So Evan Cole was doing everything he could. And really, Utah Valley needed him to. And so when you can have a guy like Evan Cole really contribute, and you can have a guy like Fardaws Aimaq who's doing what he does as one of the nation's leading rebounders, it's a tough task, and it's a tough out for these other teams. But again, your stat line in total for the Wolverines on Saturday: 14 points, 11 rebounds for Evan Cole. He also had 4 assists as well. Let's not forget that. Fardaws Aimaq with a 23-point, 16-rebound night. 2 assists as well. Blaze Neild with 6 points. He had 7 assists and only 1 turnover. We'll talk a little bit more about Blaze Neild just a little bit here. Trey Woodbury with 15 points. Jamison Overton with 15 points. And then Latrey Darthard with 8 points as well. Blaze Neild, for me, really was the highlight of the weekend. You can always see the big headlining stats, the headlining acts, so to speak, with Fardaws Aimaq, Jamison Overton, and Evan Cole. But no Jordan Brinson, no Jaden McClanahan due to health precautions. And Blaze Neild stepped up, and he really settled into that starting point guard role. Again, 7 assists with only 1 turnover. That's some of the best ratios you can find in the country for a point guard. He's unselfish. He's not looking up stat sheets at halftime. He's just out there. He's happy to be out there, and he's poised. And he does well on defense. He's quick. He cuts to the lane. And really, I thought, took over that point guard role that really a lot of people questioned with Utah Valley as to whether or not they were able to find it. And so I think Coach Mark Madsen has solidified his starting 5 with Evan Cole, Fardaws Aimaq, Blaze Neild, Trey Woodbury, and Jamison Overton. And if these guys can continue to stay healthy, then it's going to be a potent drink for these other WAC opponents to drink and swallow this year. So 2 big wins to open up conference play against the Lancers of California Baptist. And the Lancers are no slouch. The Lancers will disrupt the Western Athletic Conference going forward. They will get some good wins. They're going to go back to the drawing board. and they're gonna put up some numbers this year. It's just that Utah Valley was a little bit better and came up clutch when they needed it to. Like I said, fun weekend, a lot to talk about. But we'll be right back. We'll take a quick break. We're gonna hear from Coach Mark Madsen. We'll do the press conference following Friday night's game, and then after that, we'll hear from the press conference after Saturday night's game, along with Jamison Overton and what he had to say. But we're just getting started here on the UVU Coaches Show, right here on ESPN 960. Don't go away. We'll be right back after this.
25 years. Amazing moments. Amazing crowds. Game winners.
The Wolverines come from behind.
Support Utah Valley Athletics. Donate $25 to celebrate 25 years at the UCCU Center. 500,000 visitors witnessed athletic achievement at the UCCU Center. Support UVU Athletics today.
How does Costa Vida create the ultimate sweet pork burrito? We start by following our award-winning recipe, one that calls for everything to be made fresh, from scratch every day. Like our beautifully braised pork, seasoned beans, savory sauces, and delicious cilantro lime rice. Even our tortillas are cooked to order. It's a difference you can taste. Treat yourself to the ultimate sweet pork burrito, only at Costa Vida.
Welcome back to the UVU Coaches Show, presented by the UVU Alumni Association. Brandon Crow with here on ESPN 960. We're going to hear from Kyle McDonald from Whack Hoops Digest a little bit later on, but now we had a post-game press conference with Mark Madsen on Friday night after the big 77-50 victory for the Wolverines. Again, this victory was fantastic, lots of energy, and a little bit of a rain cloud with the scuffle. Luckily, no suspensions came of it, but this is the post-game press conference, which Coach Madsen spoke to us media about.
Ran high. I thought our guys responded well to that. Look, I thought Cal Baptist did a good job in collectively in helping to de-escalate that situation. But we know it's an emotional game. These student athletes, they play with such fire, and the situation on the court occurred. There were a couple of disqualifications, and I thought that both Cal Baptist and Utah Valley were able to de-escalate the situation. Well, I think that, the officials, very good officials, they studied the tape carefully. They made a determination. They made clear, hey, they said, we've studied the tape. We've made a determination. It's not up for discussion. They made one disqualification per team, and they issued some fouls, some technical fouls. And then both teams were able to move forward. But like I said before, Jared, these are young student athletes. They're playing an emotional game. We did lose some staff members because, and honestly, in talking to my staff, I think we saw a situation that could have escalated. The officials were right there, and I would rather our staff err on the side of protecting the student athletes than not. It was unfortunate that they did step onto the court, but at the same time, it was to protect the young men on both teams. It was to help de-escalate it.
I mean, in some ways, it seemed a little unfortunate to have that type of a moment in a game that, arguably was the best you played, both ends of the floor. Your rebounding was fantastic. You really controlled it for most of the game. Well,
it's throughout the course of the season, there are ups and downs. I think COVID it impacts all of us. I think that sports is a tremendous outlet. It's a tremendous outlet for all of us, from the coaching staff to the players to the fans. But I think it's water under the bridge.
Again, thank you to Coach Madsen and Jason Erickson, the SID, for setting that up. You could tell Coach Madsen, he was a coach divided. You could tell, the coach side of him was the more cautious side. He was glad that there were no punches thrown, that it didn't escalate to get any worse. And he was glad that his coaches were able to go out there and try and help their players. As you heard him say, he'd rather have them err on the side like that than to not do anything and have things get worse. But glad that no suspensions came of it. And from a player, you know that he's been around and he's been in those situations, and he liked it. I guess you could say that it was an edge that we haven't seen from this Utah Valley team before that was appreciated by the Utah Valley fans. Again, glad that there were no punches thrown, no suspensions, and you don't want to see any foul play take place. But if an opportunity arises to have your teammates step up and have each other's back, I think ultimately that's what the coaching staff and everybody's looking for, and I think that's what they got. So we'll see if this Utah Valley team uses this game and uses that moment as a springboard going forward, and see how they use that to react to the rest of the adversity that they're going to face this year. But we'll take a quick break, and then we're going to hear from Coach Mark Matson and J.J. Overton after Saturday night's victory. Again, 81-77, the final on Saturday. Utah Valley 2-0 to start Western Conference play. This is the UVU Coaches Show on ESPN 960.
At Intermountain Healthcare, we understand that broken arms haven't stopped. Babies continue to be born, emergencies continue to happen, and doctor visits are still needed. At Intermountain Healthcare, we've put the measures in place to safely care for you in these difficult times. So please don't put off the care you need, especially for stroke-like symptoms, chest pain, difficulty breathing, or other urgent care. We're here for you. Visit intermountainhealthcare.org/here-for-you to learn how to get the care you need.
Some people see just another local Utah sports app. Oh, wait, what? A local Utah sports app? Introducing the new KSL Sports app, powered by KSLSports.com, Utah's only all-in local sports app, connecting you with all the action you love, the latest news, insider analysis, podcasts from the pros, and so much more. Free. Available right now, anywhere you are. Download the free KSL Sports app today from your favorite app store.
Utah Valley Wolverines men's basketball is 2-0 to start the 2020-2021 Western Athletic Conference play. And fun weekend again. Can't say it enough. Go back, watch the tape. If you have ESPN Plus, Friday night's game is on ESPN Plus. It's archived. And if you didn't get a chance to see Saturday night's game, you can go online to YouTube. GoUVU. That's GoUVU on YouTube. And you can watch the replay, and you can watch the stream from Saturday. Again, 81-77 is final score on Saturday night. First time that Utah Valley was able to have two players in with a double-double in 4 years, almost 4 years to the day. Evan Cole and Fardaz Amak stepped up big time. And also J.J. Overton. A healthy Jamison Overton is exactly the spark that this Utah Valley team needs. And here's what J.J. Overton had to say in his post-game comments.
JJ, talk about the difference between last night and tonight, like how weird that was first to play back to back, but then to see the kind of energy that they started out with tonight.
Yeah, it was totally different. We figured they'd come out, put some pressure on us early, but we had the same mentality from the jump. Just do what we do. We got to come out, play some defense. That's when we weren't planning on winning this game through offense and swinging the ball a million times. We were planning on winning on defense, getting stops, take their best players out, and then put the pressure on guys that usually don't have a big role on their team. Put pressure on the guys who rely on their best players and stuff. So we did that, and it showed. We got 2 wins, nice little sweep to go into next week for Seattle.
I'm not sure if these other guys will ask. I think you guys hit more three-pointers tonight than you have like the entire season. Talk about the momentum there and the flow that you guys felt tonight from beyond.
Yeah, it started at practice, really. We just had we had an important team meeting, players only, and we just really got together and talked about everything. And we just came out, and, this is our third game having our whole team together, from COVID to injuries to different things. So, we still don't have our whole team together yet, but we're starting to get along and starting to figure out who can play what people can do. So, we're just starting to figure out certain roles. And I think once we established those roles and everybody kind of bought into it, we just blew it open.
Talk about the impact that Evan Cole had there at the beginning of the second half when you guys were they came out with a 7-0 run, and it just kind of his shots really burst things up.
Yeah, so last night, we could talk about certain people had great games and stuff, but back-to-backs are hard. This is our first time, witnessing a back-to-back and experiencing it. So we told guys, they may come out and do certain things to certain players. So we need the guys that maybe didn't have a big game last game to come in and fill those spots. And I think Evan did perfect. They were pushing and staying with me, and I have trust in every single one from 1 to 15 down the bench. And he stepped up big, hit 2 big threes, came down, hit a layup, hitting free throws, playing defense. So I just think every time there's an opportunity, there's not a guy on this team that doesn't shy away. We come out and it's next guy up mentality, and our staff does a great job at making sure our mind is clear, saying, hey, don't worry about that. They're gonna make bad calls. We're gonna make mistakes, but we just keep pursuing. So yeah, Evan stepped up big time, man, and he gave us a burst, especially at the start of the second half.
JJ, you guys did just finish off the first back-to-back of the season. Going forward with the rest of your conference games, is there anything that you guys need to do differently or keep the same in terms of kind of preparing for the same team on back-to-back nights going forward?
Yeah, so like I said, after we had our little players meeting, we all agreed on a lot of things, and I think it just starts at practice really from the jump. It has to be that high energy. From Weber State, if you guys watch the games, you could tell the total difference from Weber to now, from Southern Utah to now, to Utah and Wyoming. You could just tell the energy and the vibe and the chemistry that we all have. I mean, we're all best friends. I mean, I told them we have no choice but to be best friends. We eat, we sleep in the same room, we wear the same clothes, we shower in the same locker room. So, might as well just figure out some chemistry, and it just starts at practice. Even the drills that we don't want to do, you guys will be very surprised on the energy on working on jump stops and working on chest passes and bounce passes. So it's fun to be around every day. It's not a dull moment.
But you kind of touched on this, and maybe I can kind of dig deeper a little bit with you about how this team is just progressing to finally having the full complement. Can you feel yourselves, like actively feel yourselves kind of getting better with the whole group of players and getting more chemistry and just more accustomed to one another and setups and that kind of thing, with now that you have Evan and Dawes is fully healthy and roaring like the big man always does, and Trey and everybody else? Can you kind of feel that progression, I guess?
Absolutely. And from, I was here last year, and we had a lot of ups and downs. And I mean, to tell you, coming in from the jump, I opted out. So, it took me a minute to get along with everybody. But, once I got along, it was just like we just all bonded. I mean, Coach went and recruited a bunch of good guys, and we just, man, it starts off the court, in the locker room, at practice. And the chemistry and the friendship that we all have, from Tim to me to Asa to Evan and everybody, we're just all, having that friendship and that bond with each other, it just clearly carries out on the court, and having our full group back, it helps a lot. So, and we figured out roles, and again, we just starts at practice, and figuring out roles is huge. And once we establish that, I feel like we're the best team in the WAC.
Again, J.J. Overton on Saturday night, final stat line, 5 of 10 from the floor. He missed the lone three-pointer he attempted, but he was 5 of 9 from the charity stripe. 15 points for Jamison Overton. And can't say enough about the kid. He's infectious. His personality is infectious. The way he plays and attacks the game is infectious as well. And here's what Coach Mark Madsen had to say to compliment Jamison Overton after the big victory to make the Wolverines 2-0 in conference play on Saturday night.
I think the camaraderie is fantastic. And let's not forget a few members of our team that are not here due to basically medical situations that we can't go into. But every member of this team is a huge contributor. That's what I told the guys in the locker room after the game. I said, whether you stepped on the floor to play or not, every single man on this team and in this UVU uniform has helped to contribute to a positive start for UVU for the season thus far.
Where would you say that the team is? You feel like it's a family now compared to what it was beginning of the year?
You know, Brandon, I do. I think that it is a basketball family. I think that, you know, the players love spending time with each other. You know, it's really gratifying to see players that not only play well together, but they love each other. They enjoy playing with each other. They enjoy being around one another. You know, probably the only regret is that with COVID, we haven't been able to do more group activities with the entire team and the entire staff, just for safety reasons. We have not been able to do that. You know, and so it's it is gelling. There's growth, but we have a long way to go. As well as we played tonight. And by the way, Cal Baptist played a great game also. There are things we have to get better at. There are many things we have to get better at, and that's the coach in me talking, because, you know, you see all the positive things, but then there are other things that we can improve upon, and we will get better at it.
Anything else, guys?
Really quick, Coach. Now that you've had a chance to play, a back-to-back. What are your thoughts as a coach on coaching these games going forward throughout the conference season?
You know, back-to-backs in the NBA it's all about load management. It's all about making sure you get the guys in so that the next night you have energy to play. And so that aspect right there, Bridger, is hard, because as a program, you know, you have to have contributions from everyone, which we had last night. You know, you look at Tim Fuller coming in last night. Tim Fuller did some great things on the court. Again, you look at Asa tonight. You look at Latre, you look at Tim Fuller. I mean, there are a lot of things that don't show up in the box score that those players do. And so the back-to-backs, it's load management. It's being able to shuffle the right players in and out. And our players did a great job of stepping up.
Love Coach Mark Madsen and his enthusiasm. And the more I'm around the guy, the more you have to love him. And I think he and his coaching staff finally know who they are and finally know what they can be. And as you heard him there, he said, look, you know, we're 2-0. We're grateful that we got these wins, but we know that we can be better. And they're going to go back to the drawing board and try and figure out ways to be better. But I think one of the factors that was up in the air for the first portion of this season was their point guard play. And we talked about this before, but Blaze Nield finally settled into that mantle, in my opinion, as far as being the starting point guard for this team. Blaze Nield started both games on Friday and Saturday. Blaze Nield on Friday night had 9 points, again, 7 assists and 1 turnover. That's what he averages. And then turning right back around 24 hours later, Blaze Nield with 6 points, 7 more assists, and only 1 turnover. So one of the best ratios as far as assist to turnover in the country. And we'll see how Blaze Nield can continue to evolve and really progress and grow in that point guard position for the Wolverines. But overall, lots and lots and lots of contribution in both games, and I feel like the more that these players continue to grow, the more these players can continue to get confidence, the more dangerous they're going to be. So we'll take a quick break. We'll be right back and hear from Kyle McDonald and, again, rehash these games over the weekend, as well as take a look at what happened and what's going on in the Western Athletic Conference. This is the UVU Coaches Show, presented by the UVU Alumni Association on ESPN 960.
At UCCU, we do mortgages fast.
Seriously fast. Just use your phone or computer to fill out UCCU's super easy mortgage application.
You'll receive an instant pre-approval before you start shopping. Your completed mortgage file will be underwritten by UCCU's very own in-house professionals.
Like us.
Seriously fast.
Buying or refinancing a home has never been this easy.
Seriously fast and super easy.
It's what I do.
It's what I do. It's what we do.
I love this view.
I love that every time this commercial airs, I get to drink another Mountain Dew.
Everybody, welcome back to the UVU Coaches Show, presented by the UVU Alumni Association. Brandon Crow with you here, as always, on ESPN 960. And now it is our special time of the week where we hear from the WAC Hoops Digest, Kyle McDonald, and we starting off conference play. We got a lot to talk about here with the first weekend with Kyle McDonald. Kyle, we'll start with Utah Valley as always, low-hanging fruit. 2-0 in conference play. They had 2 games this weekend, 2 very energetic and very fun, entertaining games, to say the least. On Friday night, Utah Valley defeated California Baptist 77-50, and then on Saturday night, Utah Valley came away 81-77, the victors. Let's start with Friday night. What were the things that stood out to you in that game between California Baptist and Utah Valley, Kyle?
Well, the first thing was how dominant Utah Valley was in the paint. I mean, it was pretty obvious that they had a mismatch. I mean, you look at the box score and what you saw. Fardaws had 12 points and 14 rebounds in just 19 minutes of floor time before getting ejected early in the second half. I mean, I told Sean Walker that he was going to go for 20 rebounds that night had he not gotten ejected. You look at the rebounding, 49-26. It was just, the points in the paint were a little closer than I thought, 42-32, but it was just how dominant Utah Valley was in the paint. And California Baptist had no answer for it. And the thing is it wasn't like Utah Valley played a perfect game either. It was just they were so dominant in the paint that California Baptist had a difficult time, really even getting into the game. Plus, the game flow didn't go the way that California Baptist likes in terms of getting in rhythm from the three-point line. And a lot of that has to do with the defense by J.J. Overton, Blaze Neal, and so forth to push those CVU guards off the three-point line. But it was an impressive win, especially, with what happened in the second half of the chaos. It was just a very, very impressive conference opening win over a pretty good CVU team as well. So,
yeah, I mean, I honestly couldn't believe how dominant Fardaws Amac was in the post on Friday night as well, and I was right there with you. I said it on the broadcast that if he doesn't come out, then I think he probably goes for 25 rebounds, maybe flirts with 30. Who knows? Even Ben Arid was thinking the same way. But then, yeah, you never want to see those scuffles, but at least no punches were thrown. And honestly, it's a lifeblood that we really haven't seen with this Utah Valley team, and we have a little bit of an edge to them. And I honestly, since there was no punches thrown or anything, and nobody really got suspended the day following, honestly, I was kind of happy to see it.
Yeah, I think the word that you said there was edge. I mean, that's the I think between Friday night and Saturday, there was an edge that Utah Valley played with. I know that a lot of people have said they're pretty good, but we just haven't seen them put together those full games and get over the hump with Division I wins. I mean, but, people don't realize who they've played. I mean, they've played Utah, BYU, Southern Utah, Weaver State, and Wyoming, and those are all good basketball teams. So I just think that, like you said, there was an edge this weekend. And, in the post-game presser last night, on Saturday night, I should say, Jamison Overton, I mean, what he said about them being a team and focused on understanding their roles and just playing with that edge, I think that's going to be huge going forward. And it was huge this weekend when they swept the conference opening series with California Baptist.
So then you bring in, we'll transition to Saturday. So Saturday, again, Utah Valley victorious on that one, 81-77. And that was a lot closer game. You could see Hardy Esprilla and his coaching staff really trying to make the adjustments between Game 1 and Game 2 with that first ever 24-hour back-to-back night games. And honestly, it was tied at halftime and down to the wire, really down to the final minute, where I didn't know who the heck was going to step up and who was going to win for either team.
Yeah, the game plan was perfect for California Baptist. I mean, first off, they came out really energetic. It seemed like they had a lot more energy than Utah Valley did on Saturday night. A lot more, I don't know, I don't want to say, maybe as drive, I guess is a good word to describe it. They just seemed like they were quicker and they were more aggressive early on. And then, the game plan was to switch to that zone defense, which they did near the end of the first half. And it really shut down Utah Valley's offense because they packed the paint, didn't let Fardaws Amac or Evan Cole get any easy buckets there. And in all reality, that carried over to the beginning of the second half because California Baptist came out firing. They were up 37-30 in the blink of an eye to start that second half, and Utah Valley had no answer. So, the adjustments were made by the Lancers. Ultimately, Evan Cole hits those back-to-back three-pointers that were really daggers because that kind of eased the tension for Utah Valley, and they were able to show, I guess, in a sense, that they were technically the better team because of the tools that they had between J.J. Overton, Trey Woodbury, Evan Cole, Fardaws Amac, plus Blaze Neal giving good minutes, and they went 5 of 6 from the three-point line in the second half. So it was the adjustments were made by the CVU staff. It just Utah Valley was just a little bit better.
Friday night, Utah Valley struggled from three-point land, 4 of 17, like not even 25%, but then you switch that back into Saturday night, and really their three-point game, when it needed to step up, it did because they finished out the game shooting 62%. And honestly, again, we talked about this earlier in the beginning of the show, and we talked about it last night thanks to Jason Erickson, the SID, with that wonderful stat. First time since 2017 that you have 2 players for Utah Valley with double-doubles in the same game. Evan Cole in the first half didn't have any points, and then he hit those 2 3-pointers were his first points of the game, and then after that he exploded, and then finished off the game with 14 points, and he was unstoppable. But really, for me, the guy that stood out was Blaze Neal. In all honesty, Blaze Neal really settling into that point guard position, taking that mantle on himself with no Jordan Brinson due to some health precautions, and I thought he was fantastic.
Yep, it's agreed. I think Blaze Neal played some. Here's an interesting stat, Brandon, that I'm kind of actually surprised at. That on Saturday night, the 5 UVU starters played 30-plus minutes. Maybe that's the benefit of having a blowout win on Friday night, but that's not something you expect to see in a back-to-back where your 5 starters who played 20-plus minutes the night before are playing 30-plus minutes, the following night. But, yeah, give credit to Blaze Neal. 7 assists, 1 turnover. That's actually his average, which Mark Madsen pointed out to us the other night after the game. He takes care of the basketball. He executes. He hits the open guy. He's been nothing against Jordan Brinson, Jaden McClanahan, because they still have their roles as well. But I think Blaze Neal's kind of solidified himself maybe as that starting point guard with these 2 wins and with his performance this weekend. But like you said, Evan Cole in the second half, holy cow. The 2 3-pointers, I don't think California Baptist was ready for that or expected that. And then the dunk over Gorjak Gak that he got a technical for just a celebration. Oh, my goodness. He was just on fire. And Sean Walker, who writes for KSL.com, and I were sitting up there watching the game, and we were talking about how Utah Valley might have the 2 best, the best combination of big men in the state of Utah and perhaps the WAC with Fardaws Amac and Evan Cole, because Cole can step out and do a variety of things. Amac's just really good in the paint when it comes to rebounding. He finishes around the rim. If they get the production that they have from Jamison Overton, Trey Woodbury, Blaze Neal, Utah Valley's going to be a tough out in the WAC when they play like they did this weekend.
Absolutely. We've seen what Evan Cole can do. We saw his 31 points up at Utah. Then again, the Weber State game was a head scratcher. It was just a weird game, getting early foul trouble, and then having everybody kind of shake off the rust. But Coach Madsen and his coaching staff seem to have found their groove with this team. And I brought it up to Coach Madsen afterwards in the postgame presser. But really, when you take a look at where he started this season. He had 16 newcomers on the roster. I mean, again, no other team across the country, Division I level, is going to be facing anything like that. And all these losses that they've had against these really good, like you said, Kyle, these really good basketball programs, these basketball schools, have been like less than 10 points. And some of them even less than 8 points, and then a lot of them didn't have one or two of these key guys here. No Evan Cole or no Jamison Overton, and now that you have these guys fully healthy, hitting their stride, it's a completely different team, and this is the team I think that really a lot of people thought we were going to see early on.
Well, yeah, I mean, you think about most of the games that they lost outside of maybe BYU. Maybe we could put Southern Utah in there, but the other 3 games they were either leading or tied with about 5 minutes to go in those games. So it's not like they haven't competed in every single one of those non-conference games. I mean, we really haven't seen the full Utah Valley team yet. When you think about it, when they played Southern Utah, Wyoming, Jamison Overton was out. This weekend, Jordan Prince and Jaden McClanahan are out. Maybe the Weaver State game, but even then, like you said, the early foul trouble, we weren't really able to see Evan Cole get going. It's been a wild season. But, Jamison Overton said it best, that they're a family, that the camaraderie is great. They're learning their roles, and as they get more comfortable in those roles, they're only going to get better. And that's kind of people might say I'm a little biased because I graduated from Utah Valley, but that's a little scary to think about how much better they can be as they grow into those roles. With the way the WAC is this year, with the way college basketball is this year, nothing's out of the realm of possibility. Like that's just how I feel. When you have 4-5 guys that can score in double figures on any given night, plus they got Evan Cole and Fardaws in the paint. I mean, it's just a great combination to have in a roster that Mark Madsen is. There's not a lot of rosters like that in the WAC. Let's put it that way.
No, definitely not. And let's not overlook the fact here that this is a good CBU team. Like CBU is going to be very disruptive in the WAC, and they're going to be very productive. They're going to go back to the drawing board. They're going to see where their mistakes were during these last 2 games, and they're going to go out and they're going to get some really good wins this year. Let's be honest. But top to bottom throughout this first weekend of conference play, Kyle, what else has stood out to you in the WAC?
Tarleton's going to be pretty good. I think I'm not going to say they're going to win a ton of games because I think they lack some interior depth. I mean, it was on display with Grand Canyon's Asbjorn Midgard had 19 points on Friday night, 18 points on Saturday night. But Tarleton's going to give some people some fits. Grand Canyon, I want to say they're a full team because Jovan Blackshear Jr. and Alessandro Laver, who are both kind of WAC Player of the Year candidates early on, they didn't play well at all this weekend. And yet Grand Canyon was able to go and get 2 wins. Other than those 2 games, other than the Utah Valley series and the Grand Canyon series at Tarleton State, other WAC series were canceled. New Mexico State at Dixie State was postponed to the end of the season due to the Aggies having COVID issues again. UTRGV was supposed to play Chicago State until Chicago State suspended its season. So next weekend, I think we'll get a better feel for things. Utah Valley's at Seattle, Dixie State at UTRGV. Grand Canyon's the only team, along with New Mexico State, to have off next weekend. So, Tarleton State's at CBU. So we'll get a little bit better feel next weekend for how conference is going to go. It's just a weird season, and but if anything, from this 2-game back-to-back series on the weekends for conference play, I love it. I mean, it was fun. It was awesome. From one night to the next night, the adjustments that had to be made on the fly, what players stepped up. I mean, you think about it, Reed Nottage, the leading scorer for California Baptist, had 2 points in 11 minutes on Friday night, and he comes back and has 14 points and plays a full game in nearly helping California Baptist win the game on Saturday night. It's just amazing to see the change from night to night. I mean, in the Grand Canyon Tarleton series, Trey Gibson had 30 points for Tarleton State on Friday night, only had 9 points on Saturday. So it's like, it's fun, and I think it makes it more interesting to see how conference play is going to go. And I'm looking forward to another fun weekend of WAC hoops.
Excellent. Well, again, Utah Valley heading on the road this week to play Seattle, and we know how those games have fared in the past. Real quick, Kyle, your last-minute prediction here for that series.
Put me on the spot. I hate when this happens. Anyways, I don't want to show bias, but I ran into Mark Madsen after the game in the parking lot last night, or on Saturday night, excuse me, and he asked me a little bit about Seattle and stuff like that. And there's Wolverines are going to have the advantage in the paint again, because Seattle just doesn't. Emeka Udinai, I hope I don't botch that. Their big guy that transferred in from the City College of San Francisco. Besides him, they really don't have anybody else down low that can battle with Evan Cole and Faraz Amac, and even Tim Fuller when he comes in and gives some good minutes. So Utah Valley has a huge advantage there. Now, the guard play is going to be interesting because Darian Trammell, Seattle U's guard, is playing at WAC Player of the Year level right now. And it's going to be interesting to see who they put on him. Are they going to put Blaze Neild? Are they going to put Trey Woodbury, Jameson Overton? And the big thing is, how is Jameson Overton's knee, after colliding with one of the CVU players on Saturday night? With his explosiveness, you have to worry about that. Is he going to be hesitant, or is he just going to be fine? Put ice on it and make sure everything's good to go. So the guard play, which I feel like is the way we look at Seattle U versus Utah Valley every year, is going to determine who wins those games on next weekend.
Excellent. Good stuff as always, Kyle. Appreciate it, my man.
Thanks, Brandon. Appreciate you having me on, and look forward to this segment every week.
Likewise. That was Kyle McDonald from WACHoopsDigest.com. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back to wrap things up here on the UVU Coaches Show on ESPN 960.
We love the new apartment.
The natural light is amazing.
Hardwood floors.
There is a bit of a clogging problem.
At least Geico makes it easy to bundle our renters and car insurance.
Yeah, helping us save even more.
For bundling made easy, go to geico.com.
All right, we're going to wrap things up here in the UVU Coaches Show. Again, as always, it's a fun time to be with you to talk Utah Valley sports. The Wolverines putting a smile on all of our faces really over the weekend. 2-0 to start conference play in the 2021 part of the 2020-2021 season. 2 big wins over California Baptist. Friday night, the final score 77-50, and then Saturday, the final score 81-77. The Wolverines will now set their sights on the Pacific Northwest as they travel out to Seattle to take on the Red Hawks. So you can hear the legendary Jimmy McCullough will be on the call here on ESPN 960 for those games over the weekend. And we'll have some pregame show interviews and things for you as well before those games. Again, back-to-back games Friday and Saturday, and that's going to be the pattern going forward. So no games the following week. And then after that, to close out the January portion of the season, Utah Valley will host Tarleton State. The newcomers, Tarleton State, as you heard from Kyle McDonald from WAC Hoops Digest, who has his fingers on the pulse of all things WAC Hoops, says that they're going to be more formidable than people think. And it's one of those new teams, as we lost UMKC and California State University Bakersfield, the Tarleton State and Dixie State coming in, and they're going to turn some heads. They're going to raise some eyebrows, these two teams. So it'll be interesting to see how Utah Valley does the rest of the month. But first things first, they got to take down the Red Hawks, try and pluck their feathers this upcoming weekend. So again, thank you to Kyle McDonald. Thank you to Jason Erickson, our faithful SID, Jared Sumption, Clint Berge at Utah Valley. And thank you to Coach Madsen and his staff, and thank you to JJ Overton for the post-game interviews as well. We're going to wrap things up here. That's it. We'll see you